I know it's been a bit too long since I uploaded, and I was working on a video about Ukraine for quite a while, but it's such a depressing topic that changes every 5 minutes, and frankly every single content creator and their dog is currently talking about it. So I thought I'd cover something a little more lighthearted, like the huge suicide rate of transgender youths. Look, I said I thought about making something lighthearted, I didn't say I succeeded. Before we get into that though, I just want to say, I think the problem that I'm having with the channel and why my uploads are so inconsistent is I used to do more light-hearted stuff that we could joke around with and have a laugh and make fun of idiots, that kind of thing. But lately the topics have been quite heavy and quite depressing. And while those kind of topics do need to be talked about, if you're constantly immersed in the most depressing topics of the world, it can take a toll on your worldview. And frankly, it leaves me unmotivated to do anything. So I think the solution is to try and get back to more less serious stuff that I can joke around and have fun with. So we can all try and regain some of the enjoyment that we had way back when, because if you don't enjoy it, then what's the point, right? Maybe I should have explained all that in a separate video, but whatever, we're here now, so let's crack on. The topic of this video is the suicide rates for transgender youths and what I think is behind it, which is quite different to what they say is behind it. And quite a few of the LGBT, whatever the rest of the letters are, groups are quite large and quite influential, so I don't think it outside the realm of possibility that they're suppressing the actual information because it makes them look bad. Now, this might astonish you to learn, but I'm not the kind of person that the trans community would describe as an ally. Now, why is this? Am I just the kind of horrible person that hates somebody based on these kinds of things? No. Well, not entirely. It's their actions and their constant defense of some of the worst people on the planet. And if they're not defending them, they're downplaying them or pretending that they don't exist. There's a quote I came across that disgusted me to my very core, from one of their lot, obviously, by the name of Alok Vade Menon. I'll have the name come up on the screen just so there's no confusion, because I want you to know who this predator is, just so that if you ever come across him, you'll be able to protect your children adequately. Now, to be clear, I'm not calling for violence on this guy, but if it happens, I won't condemn it either. This scumbag claims that the idea that trannies in women's bathrooms will get up to no good is wrong because, and I quote, "Little girls are kinky too. What a disgusting cunt." I think I got the quote wrong because I didn't want to re-record it or read it again, as I'm sure you can understand, but it'll be up on the screen so you can read it for yourselves. You're welcome. How would he even know? He was never a little girl. He was a boy, and now he's a man in a dress. Like most of them, in fact. And if people were thinking of getting mad at me for how I phrased that, as lots of people seem to do when I cover the trans community, I really don't give a fuck. If you think that the sexual perversions of twisted adults are more important than the safety of women and children, then your opinion has absolutely no worth to me and you may as well keep it to yourself. And the point to this is, he's not even claiming it isn't true, that these predators don't want to go into women's bathrooms to prey on them. He's just saying, so what, they'd like it anyway. And as their numbers grow, so does their honesty about their intentions. And it's not just bathrooms, it's happening in all kinds of places, like women-only hospital wards and prisons. There is a serious problem with trannies pretending to be women to get into female prisons and then going on a rape spree. I'll leave links down below in the description because it's more prevalent than you think. And LGBT groups have this little tactic that seems to work wonders for them. Whenever there's some kind of fight back against their vandalism of our society, where parents want to protect their children from being exposed to over-sexualization, an extreme dramatic name is put in place to grab the headlines so that the useful idiots will toe the line and agree with what they say like little bobbleheads. Take the Don't Say Gay bill, for example. It doesn't matter that it's got nothing to do with it. All that matters is the image of it. How many people they can get outraged so that the sensible people can't gain any ground back against their constant march to get at your kids. They even got Biden to come out and condemn it. But then again, he's the most useful idiot of the lot. Before we look at why I think the suicide rates are so high, let's look at something that's quite common, but you don't hear much about, and that's called detransitioning. People who have transitioned, regretted it, and want to go back. I think this is one of the main reasons the trans community has such high suicide rates. It's because people who are just confused or have slightly different identity to hyperfemininity or hypermasculinity, you get these groomer-like trans groups that wrap their tentacles around the confused children and adolescents and try to convince them that they're something that they're not. And frankly, I don't know if the reasons behind it are actually malicious or if they think they're actually helping. Perhaps it's a bit of both, but every kid struggles with stuff, whatever it may be. And this stuff is usually dealt with in a group of friends. But now that the internet is as widespread and available as it is, it's allowed certain groups with absolutely insane ideas to clump together. They build communities and then spread further than they have any right to. It's kind of like cults. Before, you had to know somebody inside the cult, but now they have websites, like Heaven's Gate for example. Children are easily brainwashed. Various world religions have exploited that for years. And now, the Church of the Woke is employing the same tactics to get inside kids' heads and convince them the only way that they'll be happy is to mutilate themselves. And once the process starts, it's very difficult for them to back out because they have the worst of both worlds. If they claim that they don't want to go through with it or try and back out of the process, they'll be ostracized by their circle of friends and the support group-like system that they enforce. But if they just keep going with it, then they'll get constant praise and support, giving them that all-important internet dopamine hit. And it's not just online. School teachers are insufferably woke and support this nonsense too. And for some really unlucky kids, their parents reinforce this. I'm always suspicious of parents who claims that their child is trans, even more so if it's more than one child. It's like having a vegetarian dog. You know it's not the dog's choice. So put yourself in the shoes of kids today. Any minor confusion you have, and let's face it, kids have lots, it's capitalized upon by these jackals who want to convince them that there's something they're not. And if they disagree, well, you're just a bigot and we thought you were different. It's like an abusive relationship. Your friend group are also your bullies. So you just do what you have to do to make them happy, because it's not worth upsetting them, and there's no way out of it that you can see. And let's face it, it's not the predators that are killing themselves. It's the confused kids they're twisting and hiding behind that are killing themselves. So the answer is no. I don't think the right of some dude who wants to be called Miss and pee in the wrong toilet is more important than the rights of kids to be shielded from these monsters. And I don't care if it isn't all of them. It's enough of them. And they don't seem at all interested in weeding out the groomers from their ranks. In fact, it's more like a defensive pact. As long as you're one of the group, you're protected by the group, which in my book makes that entire group abhorrent. If you're somebody that wants to put the feelings of grown adults over the safety of children, then I'm not going to waste any time on you, so don't even leave a comment. Anyway, thank you for your time.